Do liberal voters really think that this country has gotten better in the past decade? Can you actually say that with a straight face? Because I lived in 3 major cities in Canada, and it is definitively worse and worse and worse every year under liberal leadership. I don't know whether I'm in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. The amount of open drug use out on our streets is truly shocking. I see violence all over the place. I've been attacked on several occasions, unprovoked, shot with a water gun. I want to know where these liberals live, because if you live in a major city in Canada, I do not see how anybody with a straight face can say that this country's gotten any better. And anecdotal evidence, you can say, well, that's just your experience, but the statistics back me up. If you look at all of our crime rates are up in the past decade, and not by a little bit, substantially. Violent crimes up over 30%. Crimes against women are up 66%. Petty thefts are up over 80%. All of our economic data has gotten much worse when you look at it compared to our Western peers. GDP per capita, recently 50 countries were measured. Canada was dead last out of 50 countries, 50 developed countries. This despite the fact that we have some of the most incredible natural resources in the world. We've allowed over 8 million immigrants into the country in under a decade, and there's no doubt that the pressure that has put on our housing market is unsustainable. The Canadian housing market is totally out of control. If you're under the age of 40, a lot of people under the age of 30 or 40, you absolutely no way can afford to buy a house in Canada unless you have a lot of help from your parents. It's not just anecdotal. It's the data is there. Canada's gotten worse and worse and worse. And then somehow, after 10 years of Trudeau's, what in my opinion was one of the worst prime ministerships this country has ever seen and disastrous for Canada, somehow Mark Carney got elected. Now, the whole process was very odd. The Liberal leadership race, country of 41 million, under 400,000 people voted in a country of 41 million. And the only candidate who was critical in any way of Carney was Ruby Dalla, and she was kicked out of the running. So it was a very odd process. Carney seemed to be much more installed than he was actually elected leader of the Liberal Party. The guy's charisma is negative. You look into his dead eyes, he says, he has no charisma. I really don't see it. Maybe it's just me, but I really don't see it with Mark Carney. And then he wins the election by a whisker. Now, mind you, he does have the advantage of, I never see this talked about in the Canadian media, but the fact that we've allowed 8 million immigrants into the country in the past decade in a country of only 32 million, of course, they're going to overwhelmingly vote Liberal. Look, Mark Carney just announced we're allowing another million in 2025. This despite the fact that 75% of Canadians say we can't withstand any more immigration. So he's going to dominate that vote. And that's 20% of the country. In Canada now, 26% of the country is a first-generation immigrant. They're importing people, and I'm sure a part of their calculus is that they're always going to vote Liberal. So that plays a big part. But Trudeau was so disastrous for this country. It truly boggles my mind that Carney was elected. So I want to know, do Liberals really with a straight face think that this country has gotten better over the past 10 years? Because I have a hard time believing it for people who are actually on the streets, and my thoughts are backed up by the data. The vast majority of Canadians that I speak to, that I know, can't stand the Liberals and feel as though they've been a disaster for this country, but maybe I'm out of touch. I don't know. But we're now seeing these disruptive protests. If you haven't checked out my viral video, check it out. These disruptive protests, these mass thugs all over in our streets. I just really don't see how the country's gotten any better. If you're interested in supporting my work, hit the link in my bio. I've put requests in to hold rallies in Ottawa on Saturday, September 13th and Saturday, September 27th. Because the government clearly does not listen to public polling. They could give a damn what the average Canadian wants. So we have to actually get out and physically hit the streets like they are in the UK, like they are in Australia. I'm going to be putting up posters all throughout Ottawa promoting it. It seems like there's a lot of interest based off what I've seen on my social media. If you're interested in supporting, like I said, hit the link in my bio, donate, grab some gear. There's some really cool stuff. Subscribe to my Substack, and let's have Canadian patriots hit the streets for once and give the government a piece of our mind, because all I'm seeing right now is these crazy protests. And I know there's a lot of patriotic Canadians, but Liberals, let me know. Hey, you really think the country's gotten better?